Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Yes, doing another one. I might as well get these out the way while I'm up, thinking and still functioning. I've been up all night, so I'm a bit tired, but I'm still aware and awake, so let's do it. Just check my mic value. Guys, if you enjoy what I'm putting out and what I'm putting down, please hit the notification button. I tend to be on at all sorts of hours. Tonight was an all-nighter. This is not necessarily common, at least not anymore, but I'm on at all times. I'm on often, so please hit the notification bell. And if you like it, please subscribe. This channel, I know it's interesting, it's odd, it's go everything from UFOs to politics. Most of it's politics. The first 15 minutes is usually me. The rest of it is my audience. That's assuming that it's one of the longer videos. This particular one is from Disobedient Media, and it's an interesting article, which is the reason why I'm going to cover this particular article. Donald Trump clumsily stumbles his way into a meeting with North Korea Kim Jong-un, meaning a meeting face to face. Neolibs, the Hawks howl, oh, how dare he! This president can't besmirch the office by going and talk to another leader. At least not a Republican president. Now, the thing is, you've had other presidents that, you know, Nixon went to China. Reagan had his détente with Russia. You've had these things take place. And so them acting as if this is some kind of magical thing that's never happened is nonsense. Obama himself, in a debate, said he was willing to have this talk, that you have to talk to your people you consider your enemies. I'm all for this. If you bumble your way into peace, you've still bumbled your way into peace. It's still peace nonetheless. I am okay with this. If the continents come together and end this bloodshed, I am okay with this. So I am okay for them coming together. Donald Trump brings on repugnant Mike Bolton, and North Korea says he's repugnant because he is. It's objective reality. Now, the thing is, the reason why they called him that was because they've been talking about the toppling of their government, talking about the Libya treatment or Gaddafi treatment. Essentially, Gaddafi gets sodomized by a machete once Mr. Gaddafi gives up his weapons. You have a country that is essentially, like you said, saying this Gaddafi stuff, meaning the guy gives up his weapons and gets sodomized with a machete and undermine his government, essentially destroyed and imploded. You have the United States pulling out of the deal with Iran. You have the United States instigating actions in Syria, essentially trying to topple that particular government. You have the United States destroying Iraq. Where would the trust be to give up nuclear weapons? Why would they give up nuclear weapons? I've said that before. I said it would make no sense for them to do that. The only reason they haven't been attacked at this point is because any attack on them would be an attack on their other neighbors. But their nuclear weapon is the thing that safeguards them to some degree. They're not going to give that up. And they're certainly not going to give that up for the United States. It's been breaking promises left and right. Interesting part here, though, is they were still going to meet. Now, Donald Trump has said that they were going to give up their weapons and all this other stuff. That's been the thing that he's been running on. An intelligence report was leaked. And back up for a moment. They called him repugnant because he is repugnant, but Donald Trump said he was throwing off the meeting because you're not going to talk about John Bolton and calling John Bolton repugnant. It was essentially back and forth. It was drama. But the meeting was still on. Somehow, something. The meeting was still on. And out of the blue, an intelligence report is released. And it's released to Ken Dilanian. Now, Ken Dilanian he's the CIA's guy. He's the CIA's go-to guy. He has a close relationship with the CIA when he was working for the Los Angeles Times. So close, in fact, that he would get the CIA's, let's say, approval on some of the stories. Not just that, he went so far in 2012 to say that there were no collateral damage from drone strikes. Think of all the murders that were taking place with these drone strikes. And he's going so far as to stretch the truth to the level of Orwellianness to say that there were no collateral damage in those drone strikes. That's the guy who was the one to break this story. Is he breaking the story just to break the story? Or is he breaking the story in order to derail the meeting itself? Meaning Donald Trump says that they're going to give up their nuclear weapons. Here's an intelligence report that come out of the ether from a CIA guy in the media, known CIA guy in the media. He was outed when you could see the emails that he was sending back and forth to his operatives. Is this a way of trying to derail the meeting? Trump says they're going to get rid of their nuclear weapons. Intelligence report says they're not going to get rid of their nuclear weapons. Does this throw off the meeting? Well, up to this point, Donald Trump says the meeting is going great, or their preparations for the meeting is still going great. It's still on. If the goal of that was to throw off the meeting, it failed. Now, I don't necessarily know if there's an impetus to try to throw this off. I'm not on that camp of saying this is exactly what took place. But we do know that Ken Delanian is a CIA guy. That's the idea that this intelligence report just fell from God himself into the hands of Ken Delanian, when we know that his previous relationship with the CIA leads a certain amount of suspicion around how he got his hands on this and whether or not this was essentially given to him by the intelligence agencies. Is there a faction of our government that wants to prevent Donald Trump from having this meeting? I don't know. What we do know is an intelligence report ended up in the hands of a guy who was essentially working or collaborating with the CIA when he was doing his stories. WikiLeaks called him the CIA mop-up man. Let's take a look at the story real quick. This is Disobedient Media. Right here. CIA undermines North Korea summit by leaking report to media asset. Now see, I don't know that part. I think she's making somewhat of a jump, but I don't know that. Yes, he's an asset. Yes, he got his hands on the story. Yes, it's possible that the fact that he was an asset, he got his hands on the story, you could say 1 + 1 = 2, meaning the CIA gave him that story. Do I know that as a flat fact? No. Don't know as a flat fact. But, I mean, come on. Who's the most likely source of giving him the information? Just as the media reports that the summit between the United States and North Korea was back on, and Kim Young-choi, the vice chairman of North Korea, was on his way to New York to meet with the officials in preparation for the June 12th summit, the CIA leaked an intelligence asset concluding that North Korea does not intend to give up its nuclear weapons anytime soon. The timing of this leak is striking, as it seems to be an effort to undermine the negotiations between the two nations, and comes just days after ranking members of the Democratic and Republican hardliners attacked President Trump over his efforts to meet the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un. The identity of the reporter who helped break the story also raises serious questions about whether or not a faction within the CIA deliberately attempted to undermine the diplomatic efforts to ease tensions on the Korean Peninsula. According to the NBC News, the report was leaked to none other than NBC national security reporter Ken Delanian, known as the CIA's mop-up man. The idea that this guy can still get a job when you find out that he was collaborating with the CIA that closely is amazing. But nevertheless, that's possibly why they hired him, as opposed to being a reason not to hire him. In 2014, The Intercept reported on Ken Delanian's correspondence and relationship with the CIA, while Delanian was a reporter for the Los Angeles Times. According to The Intercept, email exchanges between the CIA public affairs officers and Ken Delanian, now an Associated Press intelligence reporter who previously covered the CIA for the Times, showed Delanian enjoyed a close collaborative relationship with the agency, explicitly promising positive news coverage and sometimes sending the press office entire story drafts for review prior to publication. In at least one instance, the CIA reaction appears to have led to significant changes in the story that was eventually published in the Times. He essentially gets information back from a story, feedback from the CIA, essentially to change the story. That's amazing. That's amazing. State-running media. According to the Huffington Post, while writing for the Los Angeles Times, Delanian also reported a CIA claim as fact by stating there's no collateral murders in a 2012 drone strike on Al-Qaeda leader Abu Yahya al-Libi. Delanian's article was directly disputed by an Amnesty International report. In the aftermath of revelations about Delanian's ties to the CIA, he was disavowed by the Los Angeles Times. The disclosures of Delanian's collaborations with the CIA also led to former employer David Lauder of the Tribute Washington to believe Delanian could have violated Tribune news policy. Lauder acknowledged that the Tribune policy dictates that reporters not share copies of stories outside the newsroom. Lauder further states that he was disappointed that the emails indicate that Ken may have violated that rule. Call him what he is. He's an asset. He's a CIA asset. When Operation Mockingbird was in effect, the CIA was trying to manipulate the point of view of the American audience by essentially paying certain people and ingratiating themselves through all levels of American society. I don't necessarily know why people think that would have gone away. And at the very least, this person probably wanted access. In order to get access, he just had to sell his soul. Nevertheless, what we have here is Donald Trump is still going to meet the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Good on Donald Trump. And peace is a better alternative regardless of what the hawks in either of those parties say. And even if you bumble your way into peace, it's still peace nonetheless, and you take it. Not giving up his nuclear weapons should never have been a precondition for the meeting in the first place. You don't want domination. You want to be able to get along, and you want peace. Peace is not going to be done through some level of injustice. You need fairness. If nuclear weapons make them feel a bit safer, which they are technically safer with nuclear weapons, seeing as the United States thinks twice about attacking them in the face, the idea that they would give that up as a precondition to talks is nonsense. It's nonsense. George Galloway has a saying, nonsense on stilts. Nonsense on stilts. Nevertheless, they're still going to meet. I'm not necessarily optimistic, but I'm not necessarily cynical. I'm in a wait and see mode of seeing how this turns out. So I'll leave it here. This one is not meant to be long. Is this Elizabeth Boss? Kenneth Whittle. Kenneth Whittle. Good job, Kenneth. All right, I put the article at the bottom. Black Mama Coffee. Jamal, you have the worst case of insomnia than me, though that was impossible. Take care of yourself. Yeah, sometimes I don't sleep all that well. It's funny. My wife, she was like, "You are so loud this morning," and I can't necessarily tell how loud I am and whether or not that sound carries. But yeah, there are times where I cannot sleep, and oftentimes I feel like if I can't sleep, I might as well just do the news. Real men do the news when they can't sleep. So I will leave it here. Lavrov was with Kim yesterday. Was he now? Was he now? I wouldn't be surprised if Operation Mockingbird was still ongoing. I wouldn't be surprised with that either. I mean, look at the media. Look how many people in the media have ties to like the CIA. And for that matter, look how many people were running in the Democratic Party that has ties to the military or the CIA. It's mind-blowing. There was an analysis of this. I think it was by the World Socialist website. I could be wrong. I think it was them, but I could be wrong. But it was a ton of people who were running who had ties either to the CIA or to the military complex. It was tragic and amazing. So, all right, guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks, guys.